Jim, what's behind the improvement in sentiment? Because one assumes prices fell after Saudi did the extra cut because there are concerns at just what that says about the weakness in underlying demand.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think to a certain extent we need to look through the Saudi output cuts. As you say, there are doubts, first of all, whether, how long it could take the Saudis to actually turn around these cuts. And secondly, as you say, it sort of speaks to the underlying weakness in the market. I think one of the analysts we spoke to mentioned that if they could find buyers for the oil, they wouldn't be cutting the production, and that sort of says everything about where we're at with that. That being said, if they do cut this by this amount, it will ease some of the pressure on the storage levels, which were, of course, brimming to almost full capacity, and that was why we saw those dramatic gyrations in the market when the previous contract expired, when we saw that negative prices. So that will go some way to at least removing concerns that we might be facing full supply once again, and it has brought some stability at least to the market this morning.
We have to just back out and sort of kind of get a sense of where oil prices have gone, right? And where these players have gone from just 2 months ago when we had this price war, and now suddenly we have voluntary cuts. What are we hearing from Saudi Arabia and Russia right now?
Yeah, and I think that's right. I mean, and that's partly why I say we need to see the bigger picture in terms of these price cuts. The supply response to the price collapse is coming. It's going to take a while to feed through, and we have had quite a strong bounce. Last couple of weeks, the market has rebounded back into the 20s a barrel from levels below 10. Now that's quite a strong rally in the context of the demand destruction we've seen from COVID. So I think to a certain extent the price action we've seen this week is the market digesting that recovery and taking stock of where we're at and the fact that demand is still very low, albeit showing signs that we might be reviving. So, the Saudis and the Russians are making their own noise, and I think the market is getting closer to rebalancing. We can certainly say that.
Yeah, and Jim, and obviously in the eye of the storm is Saudi Aramco. Now, media not invited to their AGM and their earnings later on today, but what are we expecting to learn?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think we will get some insight into how much the demand has been destroyed by COVID. I wouldn't expect it to be so weak, though, given that the worst of the price drop came in April. I think that will be reflected in the March numbers. And as you mentioned, there will be no analyst call, so we might be limited in what we find out from these earnings.